Total diva, WWE superstar. Natalya is in studio right now. What's the haps, Natalya?
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. What's going on?
Yeah, no, we are taking over New York.
Yes.
We're celebrating SummerSlam, and it's so cool because Saturday we have, a big show, as I'm sure everybody knows, with NXT.
The NXT show.
Which it's crazy because that's sold out, and then you have SummerSlam, which is sold out, and
I don't think nobody really expected the NXT show to sell out, like literally sell out, like sell 13,000 tickets.
Right. And that's the thing about New York is that you're not going to find more passionate WWE fans than in New York. And that's really just, it's proof that NXT it's not just a developmental program. It's actually its own separate entities, its own separate brand. And it's really cool. NXT is one of my favorite shows.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you helped kind of build what's going on with the Divas over there like a year or more ago.
Well,
before everybody was talking about Charlotte and Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch and all this stuff, everybody was talking about the match that you had with Charlotte a year and a half ago.
In May of last year.
Right.
May 29th was the match. And a little over a year ago. And it's funny because that's really cool that you remembered that because I felt that's why I just NXT, it's very, I hold it close to my heart. And I feel like when, it was just starting to kind of be built, I was a huge part of that. And, obviously my husband, Tyson Kidd, was a part of that. He was part of the very first main event on one of their very first pay-per-views. So, or first shows, actually. And so, for me, the match with Charlotte Flair was really my WrestleMania moment.
Really?
And I've actually said that before, and it's so funny that I've been wrestling since 2002 and started training in 2001. But, I've grown up around wrestling my entire life, and I never thought that a match in front of 400 people.
At a college?
Yeah, I never thought, a match at Full Sail University in front of 400 people would be one of the highlights of my career.
Mm-hmm.
And I trained for that match as if I was training for the fight of my life. And I trained months in advance. I would go in the ring and I would I would actually have 30-minute matches with other people before showtime. So a lot of the times during the day, the ring will be open if anybody wants to.
So you just do tune-up matches in front of no one?
You just work on your ring because there's no real training. There's no better training for what we do in the ring than doing it.
Yeah, I guess just because you can run for 2 hours on a treadmill.
Not the same.
Right.
Yeah, you don't factor in your adrenaline, your emotions when you're, it's start and stop and go and rest and run, and it's very intense. So that match that I had with, Charlotte was it really embodied everything I wanted it to as far as my career and just telling a story.
Why did you train so hard for that? Was it because you knew this is one of these moments where I can be the person to put this over the top?
Well, Triple H actually gave me the opportunity to have the match and basically the freedom to create and to do everything that I wanted to do, everything that I did when I was in Japan. I lived and trained in Japan. After I was in Calgary, I had many different coaches. I had a Japanese coach by the name of Tokyo Joe, trained Tenzan and Kojima and all these Triple Crown champions for New Japan. And he was one of my coaches. And I was the only girl, and still am the only girl to have ever trained with him and the only girl to have ever, trained in the dungeon and just have this, strong wrestling background. But that match was Triple H gave me the freedom to create and to invent and to have really no limitations, because for a long time, I'm not afraid to say it, for a long time, I think Natty was looked at in WWE by the powers that be maybe too wrestlery, she's just, and you look at the different generations. There's the Divas and there's the...
Well, I was gonna ask you, what is it like? You say that you were looked at as too wrestlery.
Yeah,
but
she's
for you
wrestlery.
For you to come and be trained in Japan and have traveled the world wrestling, and then you get to WWE, and before the match we were just talking about, let's say 3 years ago maybe, WWE was looking to hire models and just kind of show them the basics and then throw them in the ring. So are you sitting there what am I even doing here?
Well, it took me 5 years to get hired by WWE. I remember sending in tapes, and I remember like
should have done a shampoo commercial.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember sending in pictures and tapes, and going backstage every time there'd be a local show. I'd be like, I'm here. I want to get in the ring, and I just tried so hard to get hired. It was a real struggle, and a lot of people don't know that because they think, oh, she's third generation. She grew up in the Hart family.
Bret Hart put in a good word, and you're done. Your dad puts in a good word, you're good.
Yeah, and that wasn't the case at all. It was really an uphill climb. So now that WWE is really embodying women's wrestling.
Right.
And this Divas revolution is about, the girls being athletic, and it's just, that's the way you look at you look at all the different eras. You look at the Attitude Era, and you look at just different eras, and that's the beauty of WWE. It's always evolving and growing and changing. But with the success and popularity of Ronda Rousey, who really started to move the needle for her genre, I mean, for UFC, she really, really started to move the needle, so people started to pay attention to that.
She changed female athletics altogether. Like the idea that because Ronda Rousey has gone into UFC and not become the biggest female fighter, but arguably the biggest fighter in the company.
She's the best fighter. She's the best fighter pound for pound in the world. And I actually just finished reading her book. And I was like, how can you love this girl any more than you already do? And she just really, again, like just you realize, wait a minute, this is not an overnight success story. This is somebody that's been doing this since she was a little girl.
And it makes you feel better about yourself and respect her more.
And she never really knew, like when she was fighting to do this, when I was starting out and when I wrestled for my uncles for Stampede Wrestling, I was making $8. I remember my uncle once paying me literally with an envelope with 8 loonies in it. Loonies are like $8 in Canada. And you don't do it because of the money. Like when Ronda was getting into it, there wasn't even women in the UFC. So it wasn't like she didn't know what the end result was.
Before Ronda Rousey came in, Dana White said, I will never have women in UFC.
Right.
He said, I'm not going to do it.
But she did it because she loved it. She was passionate about it. She stood by her convictions. And that's the great thing now. You see with, like, New York is all about WWE this week. You see them behind the NXT show. Everybody's pumped for SummerSlam. You've got
Sports Center is doing it.
Yeah.
ESPN's going to be at SummerSlam,
which is awesome.
Yeah, and Jon Stewart's hosting it. It's going to be
it's pretty great incredible. The girls are being celebrated, and that we're actually being like encouraged to get in the ring and perform more.
All right. Well, do you think, because people have talked about this now, no holds barred street fight, can Ronda Rousey beat Floyd Mayweather?
Yes.
You think? No question. No question in your mind.
I love Ronda, so I think.
Would you pay to see it?
Yeah. And I love that she just speaks her mind, and that is the one thing I've learned in WWE is that pick and choose your battles, but but you have to stand up for yourself.
Did you, if you could go back and do it all again, because when you were coming up, was there ever a point in your life where you didn't want to wrestle? No,
actually, there would be maybe. When I hurt my knee, I had an ACL injury, and I hurt my knee. I was just it was my first injury, so I was like, maybe this is a sign that I shouldn't be doing this. And then actually, Bret talked me out of it, and he was like, that was just for a moment, maybe for a day. And I was like, I shouldn't be doing this. But yeah, there's been a few inklings of a moment, but for the most part, I love I love what I do.
And when Bret the Hitman Hart is there to be like, don't worry about it, it's kind of like, okay, it's nice to have that in your family where somebody with that sort of career, I can trust his advice.
Yes.
Yes,
he knows what he's
But
talking
even
about.
as a kid, you wanted to be a wrestler?
Even as a kid, I grew up around it. Like my grandfather's at the Hart House, we had a ring in the yard, and we had the dungeon. That was like our sandbox. So I've always, between that and growing up at the Hart House, there was always tons of cats. So I am a crazy cat lady.
Those are your two passions.
Yes.
Well, and that's why it's good that because the other reason you're in New York is not just for SummerSlam, but because you're the only human human spokesperson for Friskies right now. There's you and 2 cats.
I was actually kind of like starstruck meeting Grumpy Cat, first of all.
When Grumpy Cat was the host of Raw.
I was like, I'm still like, when I see that cat, I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is amazing. But when I was asked to be a part of this event with Friskies, I was like so excited. And I was like, they want me? Like, I can't believe that.
They have Grumpy Cat. They're putting me on that cat's level. That's amazing.
Exactly. The cat has slippers.
Right.
But it's really cool because obviously, actually, my cats my cats eat Friskies, and my cats are very spoiled, as we all know on Instagram, with 1.3 million following my cat's every move. They love Friskies, and obviously the product is great, but we're also giving back, and very much like in the WWE, we do so many like community initiatives. This event that we have today, it's about giving back and helping adoption. It's helping find homes for cats in need. And every time somebody uses the hashtag Team Saucy or Team Tender, a meal will be donated to, needy cats around the country. So Grumpy Cat is Team Saucy.
Right.
And Nala is Team Tender. And actually, Nala was a little moody yesterday.
Is that,
and I thought,
was Team Saucy ahead?
Well,
because that may be why.
No. Nala was actually really sweet. I'm just kidding.
But
she did give me a little growl. But yeah. I think that was because she thought I was giving Grumpy more attention.
Is the cat thing? Because it seems, is it because it's such an escape from this world? Because the pro wrestling world is not only is it this nonstop physically demanding world, but then you're dealing with these people. It's political. It's everything. To be able to get out of pro wrestling and be like, I'm just going to hang out with a bunch of cats. I'm going to go to this Friskies event and like just talk about cats. I love cats. They never give me any grief. Is it an escape?
Well, it's funny because part of it's such a cool being a diva is awesome.
Of course,
I love being in the ring. I love competing. I love all that. But to use our reach. Like, what am I going to do with 1.3 million followers? It really is about using your reach. And so if you can, it's fun to post a cute, photo on Instagram of like an outfit that you like, but it's also really cool when you can post a photo of a cat that needs a home and then a week later somebody adopts that cat.
Right.
And that actually happened to me. Like I posted a photo of a cat that had lost an eye, and I work with a local cat shelter in Tampa where I live. And so when I actually got a little sneak peek at the Friskies Create and Taste Kitchen yesterday, they had shelter cats there, and you realize these cats need homes. And so, yes, Frisky is, we're talking about a great product, but they're helping cats in need. They're helping cats across the country. And if I can help find one cat a home, like it's cool to be able to use my reach as a diva to do that, in all honesty.
If you're not in New York, if you're in New York, you check out Frisky's Kitchen on Broadway. But
yes,
if you're not in New York, just tweeting Team Saucy and Team
Tender
is going to get meals for cats.
Yes, around the country.
That's great.
So it's really, really cool. And I'm gonna I have a very divided household. I've got 2 rescue cats and 2 very spoiled, rotten Persians. And
do they get along?
Sort of. It depends on what day it is. But they're divided between Team Saucy and Team Tender. So I told my husband, TJ, I'm like, we got to make sure we get the, because I've got 19,000 cat photos in my phone, not including the
That's
ones.
literally 19,000.
Yeah.
Not like.
No.
Yeah, literally 19,000 is
maybe actually at 20,000 now. But I took like 1,000 pictures with Grumpy Cat yesterday, and I was like, TJ, I'm so scared because this cat's almost cuter than our cats. But but so we got to get the word out there. Team Saucy, Team Tender. It's for a great cause, and I hope everybody comes out to see me today on Broadway. So
I had to give my cat to a lumberyard.
Really?
It's much happier now. Before you think that I'm a terrible person, but we got this we got this cat from a shelter. Whatever. It was a kitten. Awesome. It was a feral kitten, and it was great. I named it Bruiser Brody, except it adopted a lot of those personalities. And so it started its whole idea.
Swinging a chain around?
Yeah, exactly. And it was just pulling its hair back and going, moose. No, it was obviously born to be a cat that liked to run around and attack things and play around, not sit in an apartment all day.
Well,
so it started thinking that there's a leg. I'll just grab that and I'll bite it. This is fun. And
this cat wanted to give you an RKO out of nowhere,
That's it. That's all it wanted to do. And so at some point we had to go, okay. But we found a lumberyard, now it just runs around chasing mice all day.
That's awesome. Well,
at first we were worried because
you didn't want to give him up.
Well, I didn't want to give him up at all. I was very emotional about it. But I went and we dropped him off, and right before we leave, the guy goes, sometimes we get a raccoon that comes in here at night. That won't be a problem, right? And I was like, oh, I hope not, but why would you say that? And we got a call from the guy the next day. He was like, well, the raccoon's not a problem anymore. I was like, why is that? He goes, because we saw raccoon tracks come in 2 feet into this place that the cat lives now, and then the raccoon just ran out of there. The cat took care of it.
Wow.
Boom.
That was a heck of a cat.
Boom. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we got to get you out of here. You got so much going on. It's SummerSlam. It's Friskies. It's everything. But how do you feel with the Divas Revolution happening and you're not. So the Divas Revolution in WWE, they brought up 3 of the women from NXT, and then they separated the roster into 3 sets of 3 women, which you are not in. Are you sitting there going like, what happened? I kind of started this whole thing back then. Why would I not team captain something? Why would I not be at least somewhat part of this story?
Well, and people look at Natty and they think, like I said, I had such a hard time getting hired because when I was trying to get into the WWE, there were a lot of models, and I wasn't a swimsuit model, and I just had such a struggle my whole career because I very much embodied wrestling, and that's just part of being, growing up in the Hart family.
Right.
And for me, wrestling is just something that pours out of me, and it's something that really is part of what makes me tick. And so I love every kind of wrestling as well, not just WWE, but I love watching it, and I love being a part of it. I love doing it, and I have faith that at some point I will be a part of it. I get asked that question so much.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of weird.
It's really weird, and it's sort of like, I feel like it's kind of like the elephant in the room. Like people go, well, if there's one, like actually Mick Foley was tweeting me about this. He was like, the one woman that embodies women's wrestling more than any other diva in the WWE is Natty, and she's nowhere near this Divas Revolution.
Right, because it's almost like this revolution is more people are catching up to what you've been doing the whole time.
And that's the special thing. You can find a pretty girl on any corner, not say corner, but like any city, state, country.
There's some pretty girls on corners here in New York, too.
I did not mean it that way. I mean it like in a... Gosh, Natty, stop. The Total Divas cameras aren't around. You don't have to put your foot in your mouth 24/7. But you can find a pretty girl in any cities, country, continent, state, whatever. Beautiful people are everywhere, men, women. But to be a diva in the WWE, you have to be very special. And you have to have a very well-rounded, unique, diverse personality. And you also need to know how to compete when the bell rings. So for me, I have faith. I have faith in the powers the powers that be in WWE, and I feel like they understand that Natty loves wrestling. They understand that I can go. If anybody has seen my match with, Charlotte Flair, they understand. And I think timing is everything.
Right.
And we are just introducing 3 new divas. So right now, the spotlight is really on them. But once they become established,
gotcha.
You know what I mean? I don't, to be honest, I don't know why I'm not included in this. I don't have an answer. I really don't. Your guess is as good as mine.
Right.
I've had a few moments where I've been like, it's funny because my sister is here with me celebrating SummerSlam, and it's so cool having her. But I kind of brought her here for support because I felt like there was a part of me where I was like, I'm going to have a hard time like watching all the girls compete and not being a part of it. And I feel like there's so much of me that like is wanting to be a part of it. So it's just nice to have her support and have her here because I know like as much as I cannot wait to see Bayley versus Sasha. Mm-hmm. Cannot wait. It's a double main event. The girls are actually part of the main event at the Takeover show,
right?
On Saturday, but it's going to be bittersweet because it's hard to watch them perform and be so proud of them, but also be like, I want to do that too.
Yeah,
and knowing that I'm fully able to. So,
right, like I didn't build this up so I could step aside. Like that wasn't. This wasn't the second part of that.
But at the same time, I don't control it. So.
Right.
I just have to trust in the powers that be. I have to trust in the universe. I have to, and right now is not my time, and I'll just help everybody celebrate their time and be supportive of them because one day it'll be my time, and everybody will be giving me, it's just one of those things. It's very, very cyclical.
And in the meantime, you got some cats to hang out with.
And
so things are going well.
Yeah, I've got to get a bunch more selfies with Grumpy Cat. And
right. And well, that's what you're in New York for.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm actually so excited about seeing everybody. So if you have a chance to come down.
Yes, come down. Or if you're across this country of ours, then tweet out Team Tender and hashtag Team Tender.
Hashtag Team Tender.
Hashtag Team Saucy.
Team Saucy. And feel free to put a picture of your own cat on there, even if it was from years ago. Like, all of us cat people just get kind of crazy. So,
and you can follow Natalya on Instagram for the cat photos.
Yeah, at Nat by Nature. Like,
that's it.
Naughty by Nature, but at
Nat
by Nature.
Love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks for stopping by, Natalya, and have a great weekend.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Great questions.
Yes, well, thank you for being here.